to the Think Loud Crew podcast. 3 moms getting real with parenthood, relationships, and the WTF moments of our daily lives. Today, we have my dad.
So we have. Would you like to introduce your father?
This is my dad, you guys. You guys read the bio, but this is Leonardo Cablayan.
AKA Lenny.
Hey.
I've always known him as Lenny.
That's right. That's a family thing.
Yes, it's a family thing. That's what I was going to tell you. Everyone knows it. I feel like on your side, it was like Lenny.
Yeah.
Right.
And same with grandma and everyone else. It's family thing.
I asked Shannon too.
But I feel like it's not just a family thing because mom's side doesn't call you Lenny.
No, that's because when I first met them, my name was Leonard.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I didn't embrace Leonardo. Leonardo had to happen like after I got out of college. Well, yeah, but you have to grow into Leonardo, right? It's heavy baggage to wear when you're young.
It's a very strong name.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Yeah. So
Fun
it was
fact,
for a while.
I could see that.
Fun fact, I named Parker after my dad. Parker's middle name is Leonardo, so it's Parker Leonardo Caskey.
That's right.
Yeah,
Cablayan Caskey.
Cablayan Caskey.
It's a family name.
Cablayan Caskey.
Cablayan Caskey.
Yes, throw that in there.
Yeah, man.
Say you matter.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Embrace it.
Embrace it. There you go. So, do you want to get into it? I think a really big question that everyone's been wondering. We mentioned that you are in the nonprofit. Did you have something else?
Before we jump into this, I just want to give a quick disclaimer because I know some people are going to be like, where is Cheyenne today? So I just want to do a quick little mental health check-in moment and just address that. Sometimes as humans, we have to take time for ourselves and address our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, and take time off. So today, Cheyenne is not joining us. She is taking some time for herself. So just send her great energy and vibes and just be like, I pray that you're all good because I know God has you. And so today it'll just be the 3 of us. We're still going to have lots of fun. And Cheyenne and I are both very excited that you get to learn more about Shannon and her background and her dad and just kind of see all the little pieces that make Shannon. Because I know there's a lot of questions that people have.
Yes, you guys are always questioning, why do you have Shannon on the podcast? What is she bringing to the table? And you guys, I bring a lot to the table. Yes. I feel that you guys don't understand that me, Kyle, and Cheyenne are very close. And this podcast wouldn't have happened if we weren't sitting on the couch together and just looking at each other and Cheyenne asking, y'all know what a podcast? Do you know how to do a podcast?
Can you figure this machine out?
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the 3 of us. So we all bring different stories, different things to the table, and no matter if you like my voice or not, I'm here to stay. So I love y'all. I appreciate the feedback. So maybe, I don't know if you want my voice to be like this, if you want it to be high. I mean, I just have a light little voice. I don't know what else to say.
She's a delicate flower.
I'm a delicate flower. And then some of you guys say we all sound the same, so I don't know what you want from me. Yeah. So I'm here to stay. I love you guys. Keep tuning in. Yeah, and back to my dad.
Yeah, baby.
That loves my voice.
I love it. I've known it for, how old are you?
Almost 32.
Yeah.
Kyle first.
Oh, my gosh.
She's going to be 32.
I'll be 32 in a
couple weeks.
Soon.
Yeah.
It's happening.
You're right around the corner.
Yeah. October. She's first, though.
Yeah, I'm September.
She gets to be old first.
Woo. Hey. You're right there with me. Stop. Oh my gosh. So we put this little bio on our page about you just to give people some background information so that they could have like an idea of what kind of questions they could ask. And a lot of people are really into the fact that you work with the Brotherhood Crusade and that you are in like the nonprofit sector. So can you just give us a little bit of information or background, like how you got into it? Like what does your role entail?
And what is Brotherhood Crusade?
Yeah, what is Brotherhood Crusade? You know, I do that from 9 to 5, so I tell it. But like me being in the nonprofit space is something that's real special to me. I think giving back is important to me. being involved in my community is important to me. And so I didn't always start off in the nonprofit space. I've been in the for-profit space for a long period of time in my life. Everybody wants to get out, go to school, make some money. But I just found out kind of accidentally. Actually, your mom told me about this opportunity to get into my first job in the nonprofit space. But and I've been in it for the last almost 20 years now.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It's about 17 years. 17 years in the nonprofit space. But Brotherhood Crusade is where I'm at now. And so we do a lot with youth and youth development in the South LA area. And we teach kids how to really love themselves, right? First.
I love that.
To understand where they come from, whose shoulders you stand on, to understand who your ancestors are and respect the struggles that they've gone through and what they've done to allow you to be where you're at. And then once we build that foundation of like self-esteem and self-awareness and stuff like that, then we start to address the things that they're, coming in front, confronting every day, right? So what do they confront as far as school is concerned? Do they even want to be in school? Why do you need to be in school? How to deal with other folks, like folks that are haters, right? So if you're confident in who you are, then you don't really care what everybody else thinks because you know who you are.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that in terms of the idea of like building self first. You have to feel
have a foundation.
I have this thing where I always say like feel whole. When you feel whole, you're allowed to like think real.
Absolutely.
And with that feeling whole standing for we harvest our love early. And within that, it's like, I really want to do something with it. So please go for it.
That's a t-shirt, right?
It will be very soon.
Yeah. I want the first one.
Okay. I'll sign it for you. Just so I'll be like, this is a personalized shirt.
That's
and then I'll give you one to like do whatever you want with.
There you go.
But it's that idea of just feeling whole and like really teaching self-love, that is to me is like such a foundational like need in a person. And when you have that, it allows you to go out into the world and be like, okay.
More confident, yeah. And I think that's even more important in the Black community when you're not feeling or not knowing who you are or where you're supposed to stand.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason why we do it. Because, there's so many different messages that are in our community, right? There's so many different circumstances, negative and positive. And so if you're not grounded in who you are, then just fall for anything, or you get involved in things you're not supposed to be getting involved in, or you do things to people because you don't have respect for yourself. So how are you going to respect anybody else? So we deal with that as a foundation. And then, it's like exposing them to all kinds of academic resources, encouraging them to do something after they get out of high school and make sure that they successfully get out of high school, and then making sure that they're thinking about their careers, right? You don't even have to do for the rest of your life what you're thinking about you want to do now, but start thinking about planning that, right? And so it's just all about that engagement. And we deal with kids from folks that live up in Baldwin Hills to folks that live in Watts.
And is it all types of kids, boys, girls?
Yeah, it's co-ed, so it's boys co-ed and girls. We actually have a division that just focuses on Black boys, Black and brown boys. It started off by just focusing on Black community, but now it's Black and brown community because we live together. They got some of the same issues we got.
Of course.
There's enough exclusion going on out there.
What are the age ranges?
It's good. So it's from elementary school all the way through 24.
Oh,
wow.
I love that. Into adulthood. Yeah.
Because you know what happens. You get a taste of some good information at whatever age you are, you get that. It doesn't mean that you're going to be doing everything excellently from that point on, right? So you need common touch, you need mentors, you need additional resources once you start to get more curious. And so we're there for them up till 24. And actually, even after they're 24, kids are still
that's a crucial age, too. In your 20s, you really get kind of lost in the sauce. You're like, oh, where do I go? Where, like jobs and everything like that. So that's awesome. I didn't know that.
A really hard transition point.
But also,
adulting is really
it's hard.
Challenging at times. And it's like, you need that support. So I'm happy to hear that there are organizations and people like you who are there to provide the tools and like the mentorship. I think that's really... that's key to, building and just helping reassure our people.
Yeah.
And I also think it's cool that you guys even give them opportunities to go different places, like having the opportunity when for Space Jam, you guys provide to go to sports events and different stuff like that. So exposing them to all different types of things that are offered or you can offer them.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of take some things for granted, right? Like everybody goes to the beach or everybody's been to the movies or whatever. But everybody's got a different experience, right?
Not everyone is privileged.
So we just try and make sure that the kids get, as we call ourselves, a kind of a buffet of life, right? And so, it's at a buffet, right? There's all kinds of food. But the one thing that you need when you go to a buffet, first you got to go to the buffet. So you can't just be looking at it from the outside. You got to actually show up. And then once you get inside the buffet, you got to decide to try some dishes.
Yeah.
Maybe some stuff that you've never tried before. You may like it, you may not. If you don't, grab something else at the buffet.
Yeah.
But the buffet's always got something good for you.
Having those options.
Absolutely.
So you guys have a bunch of options.
So that's kind of what we do.
I think that is something that our families did a really good job of doing in terms of raising Cheyenne, Shannon, and I. Not just with the exposure, but you guys gave us options. And you put us in environments where we had options and we were able to, our life has been a buffet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it took me years to really grasp that fully. I knew we were different. Man, I have people out here calling you by your family name. What's Lenny's greatest accomplishment in life?
I don't know you.
What is your greatest accomplishment in life, Dad?
But the funny thing is when we were writing the profile, I was like, should I do Leonardo?
She asked me.
Yeah.
She said, what do I call him, Leonardo or Lenny? And in my head, I was like, you're calling him Lenny because you're family.
That's right.
Yeah,
but
part of me was like, do I call him Mr. Cablayan?
No,
No.
definitely not Mr. Cablayan.
No.
Your family.
That would
Come
be
on.
so fake of me.
Call
Very.
me Uncle Leo or Uncle Lenny.
Oh, I'll do that. I like.
She said, oh.
Wait, I know I saw the question too, and the question was, and I don't see it right now.
I don't see it either, but it was a good question.
It was basically someone was asking about youth services and foster
In the foster.
in the foster
world.
Yes.
Is there anything for young? I think she was talking about is there anything for young Black men that are in foster?
Yep.
Does that relate to what you do?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, most of the youth that we deal with are in either homeless, foster youth, formerly incarcerated youth, probation youth, what else? In extreme poverty. I mean, really it's the underserved folks that are underrepresented and stuff like that. So foster youth, we have a lot of foster youth that come through our program.
So that's why it's so important for you guys to make sure they build that confidence within themselves.
Absolutely. And that they're exposed to all the resources that are available to them so they can realize their full greatness, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, we go out of our way in trying to recruit and bring through our program those identified youth, for sure. So if that person is tied into any of those youth, tell them to give me a call. Brotherhood Crusade.
We can do some Brotherhood Crusade ads.
There you go.
Help.
We can help bring
um,
some people in.
Do some marketing. I'm like, what's the word? Marketing, advertising.
Promotion.
Yeah, promotion. That's so cool. So earlier you mentioned that at the Brotherhood Crusade, you guys have a radio room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we had a partnership with KJLH Radio, and they agreed to teach our youth, because we have all different types of programs. They agreed to teach our youth the ins and outs of doing radio broadcasting. So they actually took a room that's in one of our buildings and built it out with all the mixing boards, all the microphones. They even invested in getting us our own call letters. So I think it's KBHC, K Brotherhood Crusade.
Oh, cool.
94 point whatever. But anyway, we went all of that. And then we just started running through kids. And I think, what's the guy's name? Kevin Nash, who's I think still with KJLH, was teaching the kids. So he would come in and teach them how to work the equipment, and then also teach them how to develop a script, how to talk properly on the radio, how to interview folks like you lovely ladies are doing. So proud of you.
Thank you.
But really the whole A through Z type of aspect of doing radio broadcasting. So I was here watching you guys set up for today and saying, you guys know how to do podcasts?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Who's going to set it up for you? It was like, oh, we do it ourselves.
We do everything ourselves.
I think it'd be cool one day if maybe we can come to the studio.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and teach.
Yeah, we can talk to the kids, and we could do like a live session or something, some kind of Q&A, or just, let
them pick our brains and what we know we can.
Maybe you guys could do a podcast from that location.
Dad's giving us ideas.
And have our kids join in and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, it'd be like a special one-off podcast, right?
No, I think that would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
having the kids ask us questions, and
especially for the young ladies, they'd be so inspired, right? Mm-hmm. You mean ladies do that too?
Yes, we do. We do it all. We do it all.
No, I think that'd be great.
We're very hard workers. Yeah.
If there's one thing about like myself, I know this about Cheyenne too. Like we love to give back. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's in that giving back isn't always necessarily monetary. Like you can give back in time, you can give back in a conversation, you can give back in like sharing a skill. So
that's right.
I think it'd be really cool if I think
that'd be an awesome opportunity to do that.
Yeah, make that bridge.
Yes.
Be like, welcome to the crew, y'all. Y'all are now officially part of the Think Loud crew. Right. And just when we started, Think Loud crew was really to not only give ourselves this empowering, like these voices and to use them, but also to inspire and show others, like no matter what your story is, no matter what you've got going on in life, whether it's good, bad, precise chaos, you too have a testament, you too have a story, and you too, deserve to be heard. And you never know who's listening. You could be telling your story. Yeah. Someone might be like, hey, I really like that kid, and like I want to mentor them, So I think that'd be a really great way to.
I mean, just to like show your point, right? So today we have, or every Wednesday we have these things called Cyber Career Cafe, right? And so today we had Paramount, who's one of our partners, and they once a month they bring forward an employee from Paramount. Preferably somebody that's black or brown, that kind of comes from the same area, same kind of experience that our kids have, right? So they had this young lady that's, she's an executive assistant at Paramount.
Oh, wow, yeah.
She's responsible for putting on special events like red carpet events, other types of special events that she was talking about. I mean, like and you wouldn't even like think that that's a job that somebody would want to do. She's really a screenwriter, but she's like, I just need to be in the house, right? So she was just telling the story of how she got there and how she's made all these experiences or relationships and stuff like that, and how she never thought that she would have to do the stuff that she's doing in order to get to have them look at some of her scripts or do some of the stuff that she's doing now.
Got to figure out your hustle.
Right.
But it's just like, especially all the ladies, all the young ladies that were on the call, they were like, you could see their face in the camera on the Zoom call, right, and asking her all these questions. You could see her like really inspiring these young ladies. So, I mean, come on.
I think it's always cool to hear from women of color, or just someone who looks familiar to you that's doing something in the industry, or someone that you're like, wow, I can do that too. I think it's very empowering.
Yeah, and just exposing to different types of jobs. Like I know a lot of like my male friends who grew up really into sports, but they were part of them being so into sports is because they didn't know any other job that could make a lot of money, so to speak. And I know this guy who came to California on a basketball scholarship and went to a private school, but once he started finding out like what his peers' parents did, he was like, wait,
hold on.
You mean I don't have to dribble this ball and like beat my body up and push myself and be away from my family to, make a six-figure salary, or like, I can go learn a technical skill. I can be a chef. I can be a doctor. And it's not just all these like high ranking positions. There's so many specialized like niche positions that you're not really taught about or like exposed unless you've seen it. And it's, I think that's great. Yeah, I think it's really, really cool and inspiring.
Absolutely true. I mean, so for instance, like your friends, I mean, they love sports.
Yeah.
They love basketball as an example. Just because you can't make it as a player, You could be a coach. You could be an agent.
Yes, you can be a commentator.
You could be an owner. You could,
there you go.
I mean, there's all different types of things.
You can make sportswear.
Absolutely.
So many different aspects of.
You can be in the technology side of things. You were in the technology side of things in sports for a long time.
Yeah, I worked for the Clippers for a while.
For the Clippers. Really? That was the coolest job.
No, it's so funny. Earlier, I was like, Shannon, I've known you guys forever, but like, I just don't know that much stuff about your dad. So I'm like genuinely excited to have you on here today and
to learn new things.
Just to learn, because it's, Shannon and I, we grew up very close in proximity. Like, we're both Altadena kids.
Right. Around the corner.
I could walk to your house.
Absolutely.
But it's, we always knew each other, but our relationship has definitely gotten closer within these last few years.
Age, yeah.
And it's cool because now it's like, I know we have solid parents just because like where we come from, where we went to school, what we, the support we have, but it's also really cool just to find out like
little things.
What do you do? Like, who are you? Like, it's always just been very small talk. Like, hey,
how are you?
I'm here.
Right. I'll be back at 5 to come pick Shannon up.
So it's this is really exciting for me. Just, I like having conversations with different generations because there's just so much that you can learn. And I feel like our generation really needs like, I love the fact that we have not only our parents, but like our grandparents.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm here for all the juju. I need all the information, all the, just what the lessons, the experiences.
Learned, yeah.
But you know what, Kyle? It's like, I think about this all the time, and you really like realize that stuff the older you get. But
Shannon,
like,
we're getting older.
you guys are still spring chickens. Come on.
Spring chickens.
Spring chickens. No, but really, you don't really realize like who you're around or what they're doing because it's not important. When you're kids, it's like I just want to play. I just want to do whatever I want to do.
You don't necessarily like. For me, I never thought about money. I didn't think about
we didn't think about any of that.
Certain things.
Right.
So when I grew up and found out what some of my friends' parents did, I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. Or like,
oh, that's why
y'all lived in that house. Now I get it. But it's like growing up, it's like you just see people for people. It's not necessarily, well, at least for me, it wasn't like.
Even now growing up and knowing where you guys live, I'm like, because when I used to tell people where I lived, they're like, oh, you live on that side of Altadena? I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know.
They'll be like, oh, you live on that side of lake.
Right.
Yeah, which side of the lake do you live on?
What side of lake do you live on?
But now the older I get, I drive from my apartment to your house every day. And I'm like, oh, that's why people keep saying it. Because it's so beautiful. There's so many gorgeous houses. And on our block, it is beautiful. And I'm like, I get it now.
Right. The houses are the curb appeal is amazing. Like, all the lawns are very well manicured. And it's just.
But like you said, you just don't realize. You don't realize.
Yeah, it's all relative though.
Yeah. It is very relative.
I think going back to that point about, I kind of regret not having better conversations like with my grandparents, right? Just kind of, I was raised by my grandparents. And my mom and I lived with them for a long period of time. And so my grandfather from Mississippi, right? And had all these different experiences that I'd really like to ask him questions about now, but I really wasn't caring nothing about. He was trying to tell me, and I was like, yeah, whatever, Granddad.
What age did you live with your grandparents?
So from maybe 4 years old till I was 8, and then Grandma got married again, and that lasted. That when I was about 8, she got married again.
When you say grandma, are you referring to your mom?
Yeah, my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that marriage lasted for like 2 or 3 months. And mom.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Wait, said, 2 or 3 months?
2 or 3 months.
So you did not. Did that affect you?
Yeah, because I was, so for most of my life.
Did she date him at all?
She dated him.
Yeah. For how long? Like, did they just get married?
Right.
I mean,
how long?
I'm not really quite sure. It was for a while. It was for at least over a year, right? And he was actually
as a kid
that connection, that network. So he was good friends with Atri. You guys don't know Atri out there, but you know Eugene. and Kyle and I and Steven and I all grew up together.
Yes.
And so Autry was married to a guy, Melvin, and he was one of Melvin's friends that introduced him to my mom, and they dated for a while. So it's all that network, right?
Yes.
But anyway, they were married for like a short time, and Grandma was a little spunky. She had spunk. She had spunk like you, right?
She still has
and
spunk.
she said something, and he popped her, and I knew nothing about it. But Mom's the next day grabbed me and said, "Hey, pack up your stuff. We're moving back to your grandparents' house." And I was like, "What? I'm just getting used to them."
Oh, so you didn't. So they had a abusive relationship.
It wasn't well, I wouldn't say abusive. She gave him one shot.
I was gonna say
That's all
it
it
sounds
took.
like
Right,
it was. he took his shot.
He took his
she
shot.
Said,
She-
"Cool,
Peace out."
We're out.
Yeah. And
Within those 2 months, they were married.
about 2 or 3 months.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was your father in your life, or were
Absolutely.
you? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom and dad, probably until my dad died, were like best friends.
Okay. Cool.
Interesting.
Very good friends. They just got married really young, and had me. And then my dad was in the military. So, right at the beginning of their marital relationship, they were separated. And so, you're growing. I mean, Mom's was like 19. My dad was 21 or something like that. So they're growing as young adults, right? And so for whatever reason, they didn't stay together. I think when I was 2 or 3 is when they separated, got divorced.
Got it.
So I can't even remember
When
what
they
it was
separated.
like living in a house with both my mom and dad being in the same house. But my dad, just a great guy. I mean, kind of a beatnik type of, man of the 60s, during that time.
That's cool.
Flower power, kind of peace, marijuana, and partying and stuff like that.
He was living his life.
He was living his life.
So did it ever affect you though, as you growing up with grandma and your dad being away? How did that all come in play?
I mean, it probably did affect me.
Does it affect you
I
now,
wasn't-
growing up?
I mean, I think about it. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important for me and your mom to like, you have tough times, but you got to work it out, and the reason why I pour into Ella and Parker so much is I know how important it is. So it affected me like that. But when I was younger, it was that was my life, right? I'm used to my dad and my mom not living together. My dad would pick me up every Sunday, without fail. Maybe sometimes, it would be late, or sometimes he wasn't able to do it. But for the most part, he just picked me up, and whatever he was doing is what I was doing.
Got it.
So if he was out, when he was dating, we'd go out with his girlfriends and do stuff at the park. And they had
With his girlfriend.
I have this image of like a young Uncle Leo
Yeah, man.
in the back seat of the car,
Right, with the
and being like, "What are we doing today,
Today,
Dad?"
Dad, right.
And he'd be like, "Kid, like."
Nah, but one of the conditions was whoever he was dating had to like kids, and
Yes.
definitely had to like
That's
me,
important.
right? So whenever we would do stuff with him and his girlfriends, it'd be like
I
going
like
to
that
the
you
beach.
keep saying plural, so he had more than one
Oh,
girlfriend.
come on now.
Okay, wait. I think let's take a quick break, and then we're gonna dive back into this. Okay, and we're back. Welcome back to the Think Loud Crew
Welcome back.
podcast. So we want to
Continue.
hear.
We want to hear about these multiple girlfriends.
No. I don't want to paint it like that. But
No.
I mean, come on. He's single. He's an attractive young man. Actually, I wanted to send this picture to you guys, but there's a picture. Do you guys know what an Austin Healey is? It's
I
like
feel like I've
at the
heard
time
the
it was a
words
really
together.
it was a really nice sports car, right?
Okay.
Convertible, canary yellow.
Like you can
So
still send it.
So I'll send it to you.
We can post it right when you say
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, he was kind of cool. He was kind of cool. So he had some girlfriends, but like I said, the one condition that he had was that they had to like kids and they had to like me, right?
Yeah.
And so we would do things like go horseback riding, go to the beach, go to the park, do fun things, but
You guys had
Be the
good
three of us.
You
experiences.
still had,
Yeah.
you still had that dad time though.
But Dad would always ask me, Pops would always ask me, he's like, what do you want to do today? And so it would be like, I want to go to my cousin's house. So I'd either go to my uncle's house and play with my cousins there, or some of his cousins, and they had kids. And so, I learned that family aspect more from hanging out with him than I did from hanging out on my mom's side.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's a really
so
cool
that balance was there, right?
Yeah.
But that was what I was accustomed to. And it happened more than just on Sundays, but definitely at least on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And he would take me by Nana's house, my grandmother's house, your great grandmother, and we would hang out there. And I would think that her apartment was like the biggest apartment of all. And I go by there now just to pass by to reminisce, right? And it was like a small 2-bedroom little small spot, but it was like the best place to hang out every Sunday afternoon.
Was grandma's house smaller? Is that why you thought it was so grand when you went over there?
My mom's house or my grandparents' house?
So you lived with your grandparents. You guys, I'm learning too while we're talking to my dad, which is very interesting. But yes,
That's
I'm learning as well.
You gotta ask questions. You gotta talk to your elders.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this right now.
You gotta ask questions. I'll talk. I'll tell you.
I know my dad loves to talk.
Yeah, almost too
I'm
much.
just very to myself and very closed off at times. So this is very opening, and I love that my dad is on the show, because as you guys are learning about my dad, I am as well, just to let y'all know.
Hey, let's talk after the show.
Love you, Dad.
I think y'all need to have some daddy-daughter dates.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
Without Parker.
I was literally about to say without Parker. Like, no disrespect to you, Parker. We love you too, but like sometimes you need to just have those daddy-daughter moments.
That's
so.
right.
Important.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived with my mother for a long time with my grandparents, and then that short break when she got married.
Yes.
And then
where did they live?
They lived on La Brea and 20th Street. So 20th is like close to Washington.
I've never seen their house.
What part of LA is that?
Now it's considered like the west side. Anything west of La Brea is the west side. But yeah, it was at the time that they bought the house. Not too many black folks were living in that area.
Interesting.
It was predominantly white. But yeah, so it was a nice house, big house. So I was kind of accustomed to living in a house as opposed to living in an apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then moms got married again for the third time. And
is that to
Mr. Woods?
Mr. Woods, I was going to ask.
Yeah.
That was the Woods.
Yeah. And while she was married to Mr. Woods, we moved to Leimert Park and lived there from when I was 10 or 11 till actually mom's lived there.
Is that the house that she had for the longest?
Yeah, 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 over on 43rd. Yeah.
I love that house.
This is so cute, y'all.
Y'all
are really like.
I had a lot of good memories at that house. My grandma used to do my hair there.
That's right. She used to do everybody's
I was
hair.
getting so smitten.
This is cool.
Yeah. So we lived there for a long time until I graduated high school and went off to college. And even after finished college, she stayed there until she moved with us.
Where did you, not to cut you off, but where did you go to school, and what did you study?
So I went to Dorsey High School.
Okay.
And then after Dorsey, I went to Cal State Long Beach. Actually, I went to Santa Monica College for 1 year and felt that was too much like Dorsey. And so then I went to Cal State Long Beach, and I studied political science.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, because I asked my counselor. Counselor. I said, what classes or what major can I do where I don't have to take any more math? And they said, well, you could major in political science. I said, well, what do you do with political science? And he said, well, you could be an attorney or you could work for government. I said, that's cool. I'll do that.
That's it.
Cool.
Real well thought out.
Right there.
Do you feel like you use your degree or like what you studied in college in your
I'm doing it now.
day-to-day?
I'm doing it now. I think, it's funny how life happens, but everything that you do in life, even if you don't know it, informs what you're eventually going to end up doing.
Yeah.
Right? So even though I did
things,
it's true, right? It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Learning.
I mean, sometimes it's like, I don't want to do this, but now that when you look back on when you did that and you really didn't want to do it, how you're using it now, right? So, yeah, so I'm using my poli-sci and just community-based background now at Brotherhood Crusade.
cool. I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's jump into some of these questions. I feel like we're on like a good parenting tip and like just grandfather life.
Yeah.
What would be the biggest difference between parenting and being like a grandparent? Besides being like, hey, you can go home to your mom now.
Yeah.
Right. You can go home now.
So, being a parent, this is probably good for you guys. Take it seriously, but don't take it so seriously, right? And I think in raising Shannon and Steven and Evan, everything was like tense and, don't want to make any mistakes and don't want them to get hurt and don't want them to do this and don't do that. And it's like, instead, you really need to like enjoy the growth and development. The only way you grow, growth isn't possible without mistakes. It's not possible without, activities and events and stuff like good and bad, right? And so you got to let kids grow. And I think if I had known that when I was raising them, they'd probably still be the same, but there'd be some differences. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so with Parker, I tell everybody, Parker's like a second chance.
I really feel like I can see that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like I look at him, I look at his potential, and all kids have the same potential, right? Some different from others, but still they all have the same potential. And so if you kind of repress or suppress that talent or that personality, it'll last for a little while they're in your house. Mm-hmm. And if you do it in a bad way, it could come out negative, where they're resenting or they act out or do different things. But it's just like so much easier. You don't want them to like jump off a cliff. Yeah. But let them figure out what it's like to skin your knee or to, like the other day, Parker stuck something in the fan and broke his helicopter wing and like, but he had to do that.
Yeah.
He had to do that, And so the only way
that probably drove you crazy though.
Well, Mom told me about it. I just laughed. Oh. Now, if she had told me about it was one of you guys, I would have like, who did it? Yeah. Come on in here, Stephen. Let me,
Yes.
But
yeah.
it's like, so I just learned to relax a little bit. And I think you have a much better experience. And, you just enjoy it a little bit better.
I'm going to take that one to heart because I know there's times where, I come from a family full of women mm-hmm. and I went to an all-girls school. So mm-hmm. it's like seeing boys at a young age is very new to me. Mm-hmm. And I have my niece Ryder who, she's a rough and tough one, but she's also will sit down and chill.
Yeah.
Whereas Boz is like, okay, there's rough and tough them, and then there's like, I'm gonna stick something in the fan too. Right.
Right.
It's that.
And for like you're why?
Yeah.
Why
so it's there's times where I'm like, even my mom will be like, get Boz, and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I just have to let Boz do Boz.
Yeah.
And he has to learn from experience. Like you can't, you can always tell someone like, don't put your hand in the fire, but you're still going to be like, what does it feel like?
Exactly.
What's going on? Like you can't always describe what hot feels like, So I'm learning now, sometimes don't be so hard on myself in terms of being like, don't do this or don't do that. I'll be like, it's going to be hot, kid. Like, don't touch it. I wouldn't touch it if I were you, but if you do touch it, know that it's going to get hot.
Absolutely.
So it's, I've had to I like that you brought that up. It's
me too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm always hard on myself and hard on Parker mm-hmm. all the time. I'm telling him, don't do that, don't do this. But then I have to catch myself because I'm like, it's okay. Let me not be so stressed out on every little thing. And I feel like sometimes you tell me that, like, Shay, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Like, just let him be him. Like, let him do it.
We love their curiosity. Like, we love them trying things, testing out, like, push the envelope, kid.
They're
like,
so
exactly.
smart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's
so smart.
And that's the way they're wired to be, right? The only way you learn is through curiosity, right? Yeah. So you got to try things. And it's not going to always work. So that's okay. You'll learn not to do it again, hopefully.
Yeah. And I also just, like, in terms of being a single mom, I know sometimes, like, I just put unnecessary pressure on myself.
All the pressure.
With Boz. So I don't want to stress him out.
Right.
Right. I'm like, you're due. I want you to live your life. I want you to, be adventurous. And I don't want you to end up being like this, like timid, reserved, like super conservative because I was telling you don't do something. So
Parker for sure voices it to me. He told me the other day in the car, we were at Target and we were driving home and he said, Mom, so because I told him, I was like, I'll buy you a toy if you're a good boy today. He was sitting in the back looking really sad. I said, what's wrong with you? He said, it's just really hard. It's just so hard. I said, what's hard? He said, Mom, it's just so hard sometimes. I just don't know. I'm like, what are you talking about? To be a good boy, Mom. He said, I just don't know how I'm going to get that toy. I just don't know how to be a good boy. You just always are yelling at me. And I said, and it hit me. This whole week I've been really emotional. So I was sitting there like, dang. Okay. I said, well, why do you think Mommy yells at you? He said, I don't know. Sometimes you just be yelling. I said, well, sometimes you don't listen. Sometimes you're jumping all over me. I'm not a jungle gym and I'm tired and you're just doing everything. He said, well, Mom, I don't know. So that just hit me. I'm like, you're just being a kid. Yeah, and I just, literally.
That's right.
And I need to chill because you're a kid and I'm an adult that's raising this 5-year-old. And sometimes I just have to give myself grace that I'm a single mom that's doing it. So, yeah, he told me the other day. I was like, okay, never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you're lucky that he verbalized it, right?
He made sure. So then it brought me back. I said, okay, well, you know what? You're never a bad boy.
That's right.
You're not bad. So I'm sorry that you think that you're bad, but sometimes you just don't listen. Maybe you just need to listen a little bit so Mommy doesn't get so gruff all the time.
This whole listening thing is probably one of the funniest things with Boz, because now he knows when he's not listening, he's doing something. He'll just be like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom. And I'll be like, why are you sorry? And he'll be like, so he like tells on himself. Like, he'll be like, I know you said don't go over there, but I did go over there and I jumped and I fell and now I hit my knee. Can you kiss it? And I'm like,
Boz is so funny.
And I'm like, okay. Like, thank you.
But that's it, right? And to add to the grandfather thing or the grandparent thing, right? Listening, because, you have in your mind, me especially, right?
Yes.
I'm already stubborn.
Yes.
And so, but then when you're trying to tell your kids what to do, or having them, listen to you and stuff, you're not really trying to hear what they're saying. And so what I've learned with grandkids is to listen to because they might be making some sense, especially if you agree that your kids are smart. Then if they're talking to you and they have something to say, they're probably saying something that makes sense.
That's so real.
So you kind of need to pay attention to them, not just like I'm too busy or look, I'm not listening to that. I don't have time for that, or whatever. You really have to listen. And so that's one of the things Parker's like my experiment. I'm just like,
I love that.
I'm just
you
trying
should see these two literally right when Parker gets in the house. Hey, Pops! Or what does he call you?
He calls me Leo now.
He goes,
like, I'm not Leo. You're not my friend.
Whoa.
Or he'll go, what do you call him? What is your
Peanut?
Name? Peanut. He'll
Bubba.
go, Bubba. Where's Bubba at? Where's Bubba? He's like, Bubba, I'm here.
I think that's really cute.
So yes, I can see that your way. I feel like us as kids, me and Steven and Evan, well, me and Steven mainly, I feel like it was more pressure on us, I felt. But I feel like I see the softness with Parker a lot.
I wasn't soft with you.
Yeah, I feel like you're soft because I'm your only girl.
You are my baby girl.
Yes.
What's the biggest difference in between raising boys and girls?
You said boys and girls.
Like, was there did you hold different standards or expectations?
Oh yeah, come on. So especially, it's different from a mom's perspective than a dad's perspective. But, my daughter could do no wrong. And nobody was good enough for my daughter.
That's still the case.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we won't go there, but
we can go there.
I got some ideas.
Uh-oh.
I got some ideas.
You have some ideas.
There's some that definitely don't make the cut, and then others that I think are good candidates.
I think this is a good question. A lot of people are wondering, what were your thoughts when you found out I was pregnant? And then people also want to know, what are your thoughts of Parker's father?
Oh my God! Why would you ask me that question?
We asked my dad the same thing.
We asked the same
Really?
thing.
Yeah.
But what was your? I
Said, why would you ask me
that question?
Well, let's start with the ideal kind of plan for your child, right? And so you have this plan that you have no control over. That's none of your business, right?
What's none of your business? Me getting pregnant?
Of what happens in your life. You and God are in charge of that, right? I mean,
Amen.
And I'm kind of like the guardian helping you get to a point.
He's the stressed out angel watching everything.
Exactly. I'm the custodian for like 17, 18 years. And then after that, it's up to you, right? Mm-hmm. And God, right? And so given that, of course, that wasn't my plan, right? My plan is, Ozzie and Harriet. You guys probably don't even know who Ozzie and Harriet is.
I just imagine two older people getting married, then having kids and driving off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Who's hot Ozzie and Harriet?
Well, the Cosby family. You guys know the Cosby?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You know what's so crazy? I don't feel like I ever really watched the Cosby Show.
You didn't watch the Cosbys?
No.
You got to give up your black card.
I can't believe I really I admitted that on camera right now.
You're going to hear about that. Well, I don't know. Some people might say,
we have a very, I don't know. We have a very interesting, we have good amount of different ranges of people.
Families and people, yeah.
So my plan was, you do everything perfect and, you get married and you have kids and, you live in a house and, you do all these other things that everybody else wants for you because that's what's important to them. But really, things happen the way they're supposed to happen, right? And so
Amen.
I was really pleased that, once the initial shock, I was kind of pleased that.
Initial shock.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I know, it was a shock.
Yeah, it's like, I'm pregnant today. Oh, okay, fine.
I'm pregnant today.
Can you pass me
Pass the potatoes, please.
How did you tell your dad, Shannon?
I don't think I told my dad. I think my mom told my dad.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way it happened.
I think that's the way it happened. I think I was shocked still. It took a while. I think my mom just had those
spider senses.
Spidey senses.
Oh my God.
Are you pregnant? Yes.
Oh, she asked you.
I think so. And
that's mom.
It's my mom is very there's something wrong with you. Are you pregnant or something? So then maybe I did tell her. And then I think my dad found out from my mom and then I told you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's usually the way it happens.
Yes, I usually tell my mom first. My dad gets the short end of the stick. Yeah. Sorry, Dad. We love you.
We're in the same house. It doesn't take too long to get to me. But, I hopefully, do you think I was there for you from the time I found out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm happy.
That's what's important.
I'm happy. We got the park man. We got, So the second half of that question?
Yes. What do you think?
It goes back to the plan, right? So you have this idea of who you'd like your daughter to marry. And once again, it's not my responsibility. It's yours and God's. And so you have to, just like I was saying about grandkids, you have to experience things. You have to kind of find out for your own what's best for you in your life, right? And that just doesn't include like what's the best car, what's the best education, but who's the best partner for me? Or do I even need a partner in life? Or, and so I think the older you get, the better equipped you are to make that decision. Sometimes when you're younger, you're looking for different things that, you're looking for the shiny car as opposed to the car that's going to run for 100,000 miles, right? So sometimes the shiny car ain't going to carry you too far. It's just shiny, and especially if you don't wash it and take care of it and do all those other kind of things to keep it looking good and running good, it turns into a junk heap. And so you gotta, I don't even know why is that even a correct analogy, but you know what I'm saying?
There you go.
I understand. I'm following you.
Yeah. So, I think, and I think you're doing that now. I mean, you're coming into exactly what you need in a relationship, and what's important, what your priorities are,
yes.
Career-wise.
My list has gotten better.
Yeah. And it'll keep growing and keep, nothing saying that list has to stay stagnant. You can always add more things to the checklist, and you don't have to stop until you check off all the things or you decide how many boxes you want to check. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, he's a great guy and everything, I think. But, you know.
He could do better.
We all could do better.
We can all do better. We all
could do better. And also, he's Parkman's dad.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I want the best for him so that Parker can see the best in himself. Yes. Right? Dads are like extremely important, right? I mean, Parker loves his dad. His dad. And so, and he doesn't know. He's not looking at the same checklist you are. And it really doesn't matter because you need to love your parents. And so, but, you know, I think everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Thanks, Dad. It will.
Yeah, I have trust and faith in you that you'll pick the right person. If not, you know, I'll let you know. Not that it'll make any difference, but I'll definitely.
You know what's so funny in terms of dating or men at this point in my life? I'm definitely going to listen to my parents or my sister a little bit more.
Yes, I agree.
I've definitely been stubborn and been like, you know what? I hear what you guys are saying, but I'm going to do this anyways.
Right. I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear anything.
So now I'm like, you know, just in thought of me dating again, like I want to court in the sense that like my family and his family are like involved because it is really a family affair.
Oh, man.
And we are very like, we come from very family oriented families. So it's like if our families don't get along, to me, that's going to be bone crushing. Like,
right.
I'm be like, this just can't work. Like,
or if you're not a person who can look my father in the eyes, I don't think.
So your father don't want to look at him in the eye.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Watch out, man. Watch out. You better be able to look him in the eye, even if he's not looking at you. You're gonna be like, "Sir, I am here for your daughter. You better look me in the eye."
Look me in the eye.
Well, that's a good thing too, right?
Yes. Like this is weird. This is about to be a deserving situation.
Yeah, like, well, I look forward to that.
Command your respect.
I think here's another. Oh. Being coming into mom's life as when she was a single mom and then dating her. How did that look back? I mean, not to say back then,
but how was your experience
of dating someone with a kid at a young?
Yeah. So, I mean, to go way back, your mom and I had known each other since high school.
Yes.
Right. So, and we were friends in high school. We hung around the same people. My best friend tried to date actually your mom and your Aunt Becky at the same time.
You tried to date both of them?
He tried to date both of them. He actually found out. He didn't know that they were sisters, but he got invited by the house. It's like, what are you doing here?
Oh, that is such a good story.
That's hilarious.
In a funny way.
That's a sitcom, right?
Yes.
And so he just invited me by the house, and so we were friends since high school. And so
he was like, I can't take both sisters, so here's one.
Here's my best friend. Here's my best friend. He's kind of a close proximity.
That's actually really funny.
And so we used to go to all the parties together. You know, you have that network when you're trying to find out what's happening on a Saturday or whatever. You call certain folks and they tell you what's happening. So we were always those folks. So we would hang out together. She would get so pissed when I would bring other girls to different parties. We gave a party together, and I brought a girl to the party. And so, you know, guys are stupid, right? So she's giving
Y'all heard it here.
Right. Guys are stupid.
In certain ways. I'm not selling us down the road. I'm not putting us under the bus, but you know what I'm saying.
So, you know what I'm saying.
Emotionally, especially when you're younger, we kind of like don't pay attention to different cues. And so she was not always, but at a numerous amount of times giving me cues that she wanted more than just to be friends, right?
And you didn't catch
it. I was just like more and more sucked into, she's really a good friend. And then I got into...
She's my best friend.
And then, we talk on the phone. You know, back in those days, she was like at the top of my phone book and calling up to see what's going on. And it got to a point where I started thinking about her romantically, but I knew what was in me at that time. And I was like, so this is the type of woman that you put on the shelf and save for when you're ready to get married.
Ooh.
Never told her that. That was just something that was in my mind, right?
So that's how guys think.
Maybe some guys.
Like, let me just put her on hold.
Let me just put her on hold. Maybe she'll become...
But she wasn't one of the girls that you would mess over, right? And you weren't going to stop doing what you were doing during that time. So we just stayed good friends. But the thing is that we were really good friends. And so she called me up one day and said, I want to invite you to my wedding. And I was like, you what?
But you're on my shelf.
Yeah, you're on my.
You're marrying me.
And I told her, I said, what do you mean? I wanted to marry you. And she gave me a couple of choice words, and then she hung up on me. Because I said, I'm not coming to the wedding.
Oh, that was going to be my question. I'd be like, did you go to the wedding?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, hell no. She's on my shelf.
Yeah.
She was on reserve, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, she got married, and it lasted for about a year and a half. And so, I went on about my life, and then I was selling copiers at the time, door to door, and I was knocking on office buildings, and I knocked on this office, and it was your Aunt Becky's business. She had a business where she was doing credit repair. And so, oh, hey, how you doing? I didn't know that you worked here, blah, blah, blah. And I said, the first thing I asked was, how's Patrice? Becky says, and you know how your aunt talks. She's getting a divorce. And I was like, cool. What's her phone number? And so.
Cool. Let me hop on that.
Absolutely. Fool me once, shame on me, but or whatever that goes, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't gonna let the same mistake happen twice.
At least you had enough respect for her to know that you weren't in like the headspace
to get married.
Right.
Not even just get married, but to date or like start a relationship outside of your friendship.
Right. I didn't want to ruin the friendship.
Yeah.
And so so I called her, and the first thing she did was she wasn't having such a great time with her ex. They hadn't actually been divorced officially yet, but they were separated. I called her, and she says, I have a son. I was like, cool. And so she said, so we wanted to just hook up and see each other again. And so our first date was over her sister's house, your Aunt Pidgey, and Evan was in the crib, and
How old was Evan?
Evan was probably not even 2 yet, maybe close to 2. So he was still in the crib. And, I'm trying to get close, and Evan's big head kept looking at me. And, kids have that instinct.
Yeah.
Yes,
so he's crying every time I got close to his mama.
Yes.
So it took, I'm not saying I immediately fell into, having him around and receiving him right away, because we dated for 7 years before we actually got married.
How was that journey with Evan in the picture?
It was off and on. Your mom was very insistent on, Evan's included in my life.
Yes.
So, and Evan was really tough, like 3-4 around Parker's age. He was real verbal and real protective of his mom. And so, I grew to love him. He would play with me. At first he was like always looking around and not saying much to me. And then after a while, he would start playing tricks on me. And then sometimes he would ask me to go home. He said, that's enough. It's time for him to go to his house. I mean, literally. And so,
when kids are figuring out pronouns, it's literally the funniest.
It's time for he to go to he house.
Yeah, it's time
go
for
home, please.
He to go to he house. And then after he and I started to become friends and he started getting comfortable with me, he would hide my keys so I couldn't leave.
Aww.
Yeah. And so finally, we got married, and Evan refused to call me Dad until the day of our practice. You have that final practice, and he refused to call me Dad. And then one day, right before the day before we got married, he ran up to me and said, "Daddy, Daddy."
Aww.
And
how did that make you feel?
It kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a reality check. I mean, it was
were you not ready
feeling.
for it?
No, it was a good feeling. But because he was, I forget what he called me. But because he hadn't called me Daddy or anything close to that up until that day, it was like, just a different but the switch got flicked on.
Was it ever a conversation that he would call you Dad?
No, I just wanted it to happen organically. I mean, when my mom married Mr. Woods, and I still call him Mr. Woods.
Yeah,
I was going to say you don't. Seems like he's still Mr. Woods.
Yeah. He was like introduced to me as Mr. Woods, and the way I was raised is you call people by Mr., right?
Yeah.
You don't get familiar and call people by their first name, and so that's just the way I was raised anyway. And then when my mom introduced me, this is Mr. Woods, I was like, okay, fine. Hi, Mr. Woods.
So
and then when they got married, he knew that I had a dad, so he didn't want me to call him Dad, but he said, you can call me Walter. I said, no, that's okay, Mr. Woods. So they were like married for 8 years. I called him Mr. Woods until he died.
Until this day.
Interesting. Yeah,
until this day. I still call him
Mr. Woods, not Walter.
Yeah, I don't call him Walter. I didn't call him Walter, some affectionate name or anything like that. It wasn't anything negative against him. It's just that's the way.
He had the respect that you had a dad, so he didn't want to step in and say,
and couldn't because I had a great relationship with my dad. Right.
And then so with Evan, he called you dad because did he not have a good relationship with his dad?
His relationship with his dad was kind of, I don't know, wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, his dad and your mom just didn't get along. It was like, oil and vinegar, oil and water. And so they just didn't get along. And then it got a little bit heated because I don't think he really liked the fact that she was dating someone else and getting serious about someone else. Yeah. And so that just caused a lot of friction. And then there was points where he wasn't even in the picture. Mm-hmm. And so, I think me realizing that, and especially my experience, I just decided to step up and, get him involved in sports and do the different things that a dad would do. So
you embraced the father role in his life.
Absolutely. Before we got married and definitely after. Because I think, it was the same experience as mine. So I know what I needed during that time. I know what my dad gave me, and I know the types of folks that my mom dated, what they were required to provide in that kind of relationships. And so I had examples. I had good examples. And I also knew how I felt about having those relationships, of having men in my life. And so I just wanted to make sure that he had, and plus, your mom's side of the family is just like all women, right?
Yes.
I mean, she has tons of sisters and one brother who was never around. So he needed some sort of male influence,
figure,
and I was more than happy to provide it. Right?
I like that you said influence where we said figure, because you want that influence more than just a figure. When I think of a figure, it's just that's Mr. Woods. I don't know the story about Mr. Woods. Right. I don't know him. No disrespect to him, but the it's
influence is teaching you and showing you things. That
and he was a good influence too. I just didn't want to call him Walter.
You're like, I just like Mr. Woods.
And that, if you think about it, now it's kind of unique and affectionate in its own way, right?
It is.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. But I mean, if it wasn't for Mr. Woods, I wouldn't have had an interest in technology, because he worked for a technology company and taught me a lot of different things and, increased my interest in those types of things. So he was a good influence. But a figure is something that just is there,
They're
right?
There, yeah.
It's like
you
a
want
statue.
that influence.
Yeah.
I take that into account now a lot more as I'm like, I'm still pregnant. However, I'm still open to receiving love and companionship in a relationship in my life.
Sure.
And like just figuring out like what is the best situation or what is the best person. What are those qualities? What are those attributes? What kind of principles do I want this person to have? What kind of influence do I want them to be able to bring into my children's life? Like, it's a consistent thought of mine. So it's
I mean, and more importantly, I mean, even though you're considering Boz, right? Mm-hmm. It's like what's best for you.
It's not just my son; it's me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Ooh, dating.
Deep
stuff. How was I as a child?
You're my baby. You're a little challenging at times. But you were a good girl.
The youngest girl.
Yeah.
Youngest.
You had a lot of energy.
I still do.
You had a lot of energy, and you just did not want to stay still. You just always wanted to be on the move. I remember one time your mom and I were playing tennis. Mm-hmm. You remember that time? We took you.
No.
You were like maybe 1 year old, and we wanted to play tennis.
I'm mad. He said, "Do you remember?"
You were about 1 year old.
You're about one.
Well, we tell the story all the time, but
that was great.
We wanted to play tennis so bad. We took these big, those big play sets that unfold and stuff, and they can play playpen. Mm-hmm. and we put it on the tennis court so that you could stay in there, but we could watch you. And like, I think we hit the ball like 2 times. You had climbed out and you were crawling on the court. You just like would not stay confined.
It's like, I'm playing.
And that's just you in a nutshell. You just do not want to stay still.
I love it.
Energy.
Yes. A lot of people, I think, sometimes get a little confused because Shanan can be soft-spoken at times, and they associate that with, like, lack of excitement, I'm going to say. And I'm like, Shanon's actually a lot of fun. like when I just think about in, like, high school, like, we were the girls who were dancing. Like, we were very social. Like, we could be quiet or, like, meek at times, but at the same time, like, we turn up.
You guys, I have. You just learn. Just keep watching.
Yeah.
I'm very loud.
It takes time, and like
I'm a very loud person.
I shared with Shanan before, like just in reference to some of the comments that we get, where people are like, "I don't know about Shanan." I used to get so many comments, like negative comments, when people weren't really familiar with me, just from like seeing me on Cheyenne stuff. They thought I was boring. They thought I was like her nanny. They thought I was really weird.
You were a nanny.
Yeah, they were just like, this girl is like too much, and I'm like y'all don't know me.
That's right.
Like at all.
That's right.
Like, and they'd be like, yeah, she's so boring. I'd be like,
You're boring.
what? Do you want to know what I did last night? I'm not going to tell you, but like, I'm fun. Like,
hey, but you know what? Like what we were talking about on the way up here, right? It's like, not to say that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no.
Look, you have to be authentic. You have to be you. That's all you can be anyway, right? So if you're trying to be somebody else just so you
Then
can
you
get
really
a couple
won't, like,
extra
come across.
likes.
Yeah.
And you
It's
think
like-
I'm really
like,
weird.
Why are you being so aggressive with your personality right now?
Yeah, because the same folks that don't like you, there's like the same number that do like you. So it's like,
I'm
Amen.
going to say there's more.
yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
There you go. There
I'm
you go.
saying if you
I
don't
agree.
like us, it is confused admiration.
And you know what? Haters are the ones that always speak up, because people that are content and happy, they just stay content and happy.
Yes.
There you go.
My dad is calling me. Ask a question. I'm going to text my dad. Okay. My dad has Boz right now, so I just want to make sure we're all good.
All right.
Let's see. Do you want to talk about Steven?
Sure.
Okay. So we got a question. It says, being a father to a queer black man is in the today's world, what is that journey of like?
Wow.
Or what was your first instinct, or how did you feel when you first found out that Steven was queer?
Yeah. It's like everything else that's not in your plan. It takes you back. You have to think about it, right? I still think about it, right?
I'm sure it's a very
and it's an education. It's for me, it's personal growth, right? I mean, it's easy to have these opinions when it has nothing to do with your house, but once it's in your house, you have to look at it from a total different perspective. And the number one thing of all of you kids is I love you guys to my death, right? And so he's my son. I love him. I know him totally 360 degrees. And one of those degrees may be that he's a queer man. That he's a whole human being. And I accept him for who he is. I love him for who he is. And so I had various thoughts about what that means. And probably most of them had nothing to do with him, but had everything to do with me, which is like,
evaluating
kind
of who you are.
Yeah, a selfish kind of perspective. And, one thing that I do know is that, my son's extremely talented. He's
really
extremely
smart.
So talented.
extremely thoughtful.
Yeah.
He's just a good human being. I don't think he would even kill a fly, but he's just a good person, And so, I had to just really talk to myself about, what are my perspectives with regards to how I feel about this, and what's best for him is once again, it's his decision.
And it's his
Between
happiness.
His happiness is his decision. How he wants to live his life is his decision. He's not hurting anybody. He's not, he's living his authentic life. And I think that's what, as a parent, talking to you guys, you just want your kids to be happy. You want your kids to live their fullest. You want them to realize their fullest potential and stuff like that. And so, I didn't like right off the bat come to that conclusion, but that's how I feel now.
During the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of things were happening to Black gay men. Did that ever worry you? Did that ever make you feel like I need to be more protective? Do you feel like you should be? Have you learned more about the community? Have you done any research or anything like that?
Yeah. So that's a lot. So I'm concerned about all of my kids' safety, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I love you guys. So, being a Black male is, I think you have a target on your back.
Always.
If they happen to find out that you're queer or gay, then that's an additional target on your back. I mean, but in a lot of situations with folks that are a threat to us, they don't necessarily pull over a car because you have a license plate that says you're queer or you're gay or you're, whatever, right?
Right.
So I fear for my son's lives. I mean, especially your oldest brother.
Yeah. He has a mouth on him.
He's got a mouth, but he's a testimony to how, God takes care of children and fools. And so,
who? My oldest brother, Evan.
I'm just saying, God watches over fools and children.
You guys, my oldest brother is a very interesting character.
Very talented.
Very talented.
Good guy. But
my parents have 3 artists under their hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 artists.
Three innovative, creative folks.
Yes.
Yeah. But like back to Snoops, back to Steven. So I worry about him. And then that extra element that you added, that has me worried about him as well. I mean, he's a grown man and he's not at the house and don't see him all the time. But, I think about you guys all the time, your safety, your well-being, what you're doing, all of that stuff. And so I worry about that element as well. What was the other part of your question?
I said, have you taken any time to do your research on the community of, there's a lot of prides, there's different things that you can research, different,
Yeah.
There's so much research out there. Have you done any research or
I haven't actually done research per se.
Have those uncomfortable talks with Steven?
Yeah. Well, one thing, I haven't really had a really good discussion with Steven about it. And so.
Do you hope to have one?
I definitely do. I mean, we're revealing a lot of stuff to each other right now.
We are.
Yeah.
You guys, I've never asked my dad this question ever in my life.
Yeah.
think I've talked about it with my mom, and it was a very heated conversation because I love my brother, just like my dad said, but I'm very open with everything. I love that my brother's queer. I love that my brother is very talented. So to me, I'm very protective of him. Mm-hmm. So to ask my dad this question is very opening for me and for him. Mm-hmm. This has never been spoke of. So I think it's it shows that these are uncomfortable conversations, that you should have with your parents, whether it's a sibling being gay or you being gay or whatever the case may be, whatever uncomfortable things that you think that you can't talk to your parents. I think it's very opening. And
yeah, I think it's also it's still one of those taboo conversations within the Black community.
Very taboo.
It's sometimes you don't know how to bring it up or how to ask or what to say. And for me at times it's just how you said, you love all your children, but you love all your children, but you also have safety concerns for all your children. But there's that extra layer there. It's
sure.
How do you sometimes communicate? I don't feel a way about who you are, but I just want you to know that I do have extra concerns without it sometimes being like mistaken or misunderstood. So it's I've learned a lot over the years just because there's a lot more terminology now.
Yes.
And I've had to take time and Google things, and like I know there was a point in time where referring to someone as queer was thought to be like a derogatory term.
Yeah.
So it's I've learned in the last few years where it's like now I know people who totally embrace the term, and then they're like, no, this is who I am. This is how I identify, or this is my label. And it's like, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, and I mean no disrespect.
No, but I think that is,
it's a learning.
I love that the question came from, I guess, you can say she's queer or lesbian.
I'm not sure what. It's a childhood friend of ours
that is.
She's in a relationship with a woman.
She's married, this was one of her questions.
Yeah.
Charnel asked.
Yeah, I know Charnel.
Yeah,
I love Charnel. So, asking about how I've educated myself, and this is how God works, right? The work that I do. And the different people that we work with, the different other community organizations we work with, a lot of the organizations focus on the gay population. And so, I've been educated because that's part of my work, right? In the way that you speak, the way that you use pronouns when you're introducing yourself, to see the courage of some of the young people on a day-to-day basis and how they struggle, but they're looking to find their identity in a number of different ways other than just their sexuality, right? How they're dealing with folks in their family, how some of them are homeless because their family members can't come to grips with even talking to them about the things that they're encountering, right? I mean, and we're trying to find homes for them. We're trying to find jobs for them. By seeing their experiences has me look internally and say, how am I dealing with it, and what other things do I need to be considering? And if these folks are experiencing these things, because Stephen and I haven't really talked about it, right? What might my son be going through? And, so it's education, not like a formal education, but it's like experiential.
Hands-on.
It's like,
hands-on.
And so, I just it's evolving too. The generation that I grew up in, you're right. It was, you don't talk about it. People are like, we had different words for folks that weren't aggressive or weren't involved in sports or chose to do different things, for extracurricular activities or acted a certain way or spoke a certain way. But there was no specific label for it, and there weren't people embracing that you were going at it. And so now you have people embracing who they are and having opportunities to be able to express themselves about their feelings and who they are as human beings, not just, that's just one aspect of who the person is, right?
Literally one aspect.
And then why are we focusing on that? And then being able to uplift folks throughout history, because I told you we talked to our youth about whose shoulders you stand upon, and then highlighting others that maybe had to suppress being able to verbally talk about it. I mean, others that hung around and might have known, but, other folks that have made huge impacts and stuff. So it's just, I think everybody just needs to loosen up a little bit and focus on loving each other as opposed to labeling each other in certain ways. So, but it's an education, right? It's a growth.
I think it's really cool. I would love to have Steven on the podcast one day.
Absolutely.
Just because I know, like, I watch from afar, and for me, I have had issues in the past with like emoting and like expressing myself. And I've really seen like Steven's transformation because I know him from when he's younger. And to me, he was quiet, very observant. And, just how I love to color my hair now, different colors and patterns. Shannon has dyed Steven's hair.
So many fun colors.
I didn't know Steven was into music for a long time. And then I was like, oh my gosh.
He's an amazing.
He has totally blossomed, and he has evolved into this really beautiful like person and artist. And it's to me, like, just knowing the environments that we were raised in, like we all went to private schools that were very where we were, one of very few. It made me feel really good to see him like embracing himself. Like I felt like a part of me was like, oh, you know what? Like he survived.
Yeah.
Like he survived a very, white environment that tends to sometimes suppress us and make us second guess ourselves, or, send us these messages that, we don't matter at times, or we can't be the same. We can't be free. Like if we're expressing ourselves, it's like, you're weird, or you're like, why are you trying to do too much? But it's like, we're people too.
Absolutely.
We're human too. We're artists too. Like we have visions and ideas as well. So yeah, I've loved seeing like his growth over the years. And I think it'd be really great if we brought him in, because just from what I know of him, like he's really smart. Like that's all I can say. Like he's just a really smart.
He's just a
person.
He's a very deep person.
Yeah.
He went a little on his background. He went to Princeton. He graduated from Princeton. What did he study?
I think it was history of some sort.
History.
I want to say European history. It's like, I don't know why you do European history. They shoved that down our throat. All of school was like,
so he graduated from Princeton. I thought it was really cool when he graduated. I think it was one of the moments that me and my brother are close in age, but we grew, when we were younger, we were very close, but then something happened in like when he went to middle school. I don't know. And then I just became that little sister. And then, so when I saw him graduate, they have these like beer jackets. And so my brother was just wasted.
He was wasted.
He was like, everybody, like the most I ever seen my brother, like, everybody, this is my family. And just like so excited that we were there. Before, right? He was just drenched in beer in his beer jacket. So happy to graduate.
Yeah, he was in a drinking frat, right?
He was in a drinking frat.
I didn't even know there were drinking frats.
Drinking frat.
It was called an eating house. Eating house,
so
right?
At Princeton, they don't have frats on campus.
That's like, am I making this up that it was a drinking frat? No,
it was called an eating house.
They have eating houses.
Interesting.
They're like social houses,
like
right?
And
so
he was the main guy there.
He was like in the oldest house on campus at Princeton. And Princeton was like 1770 something. So
one of the main houses.
Yeah. So one of his classmates in the house was a Rockefeller. It was one of his friends.
I love our lives. We have such fun lives.
Isn't that
yes.
true? Yeah. So, but they have this tradition when you graduate, you wear these jackets, and they call it a beer jacket because it's got all these different pockets
for beer.
that handle cans of beer. And so it takes, because
I'm learning so much.
They're when they graduate, they have the oldest class that exists and the procession of the oldest to the most recent class. And so it literally took about 2 hours?
And it took so long
for us to get to Stephen's class. And
beer jackets.
Oh, so they're just sitting there drinking.
They're in the back drinking. And they're already loaded up with like a 6-pack or a 12-pack in their jacket. And they're just drinking. So by the time he gets to us, it's a wonder they can even walk.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, he was soaked and wasted at the same time.
Soaked and wasted.
But yeah, he went to Princeton, then he came home, didn't know what he was going to do. Then he worked for Quincy Jones for what?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
That was his first job.
His first job out of college.
What a cool first job.
Personal assistant.
Oh my gosh.
First, and then within like that couple of months, he went to Morocco.
Yeah.
To do
he was in Morocco for 5 weeks.
Quincy had a show.
Quincy had fired his concert manager in Morocco like 5 weeks before the concert was supposed to take place. So he looked at Stephen. He says, well, there's only 3 people in the company. Adam, who's the other person, is doing this. Stephen, can you go to Morocco? So he sent him to Morocco to run finish up closing and running the whole concert by himself.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So
and there we go. There is Stephen being really smart. Not only is he smart, he is capable and able to
run the world.
Get
the job done.
We all are, right? You just gotta,
just gotta do it.
Nothing happens unless there's disruption, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta take a risk, and you have to, if you haven't done it before, you'll figure it out.
Well, I'm excited to get him on here.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, you want to close out?
Yes. So
you ain't got no more questions for me?
We'll bring you back on. Okay. Yeah. This will be like
it's
a teaser
8:00
for
Dad.
everyone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I thought I was gonna get my kid tomorrow. My dad's talking about I'm on my way out here now, so I need to wrap it up.
Your
y'all.
dad is done.
Yeah, he's like, I was tired. Every now and then I forget that our parents are older, and there's times where my mom is like, my dad will be like, you know what, like I'm in my 60s, like. I'm tired. And I'm like,
and Bob is probably
he was
like, you just one more day, Dad.
Yeah.
That's how I am with you, and Mama, please.
I'm like,
I'm tired. I don't want
This is moments where I'm like, you know what? I don't mind that my parents are divorced because I can split up the time. I'm like, if they were still married in the same house, I'd be like, dang.
I know how you and Mom would be. You and Mom be like, I'm tired. Like we coming home. Parker's like, hey.
We do tag team. Mom does the daytime. I do the nighttime.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. One thing I do love is our children are very close to their grandparents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very close.
The quality time is definitely there.
It's important.
I'm here for it.
It's important.
But yeah, so every end of the show, we either share like a WTF moment of our week, or we kind of give words of advice. So
do you have a WTF moment?
Do you have like a oh my gosh moment, or
or do you have word of advice?
Words of advice.
I would say the WTF moment and word of advice is like one and the same. Mm-hmm. And having this conversation with you guys, coming here, seeing how you guys set this up and how successful you are and how driven you are. And then also just getting to know my daughter better, having my daughter get to know me better. Asking these tough questions that we kind of avoid and don't talk about, or don't talk about in the right way. It's just like, let's just love on each other a little bit more, get to know. We're right next to each other and don't know that much about each other other than what's convenient. So
I agree.
Stop being lazy and let's love each other.
Dig deep.
Yes, ma'am.
Every day.
Don't touch me.
I like that. I think that's important because there's a lot of times where like people can be in the same household and you just really don't know who they are, what they're going through. Like, it's just, we got to talk.
Absolutely.
Got to talk.
Communication.
Yeah. Communication's big.
You gotta think loud.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I can't just live in your head, y'all.
What? You gotta think loud.
Think loud.
Kyle.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to give some words of advice in terms of be open. And in terms of being open, it's don't limit yourself. So I'm not going to go into the details, but I recently went on a date while I am 7.5 months pregnant, y'all. And at first I was very hesitant and like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not even thinking about, like, literally I'm not thinking about dating right now. I'm just like, let me just get through these last,
months,
I got 10 more weeks, y'all. And let me focus on Boz. And it happened. It wasn't like, I wasn't seeking it. And I feel like if I was not just got to be open. Got to be open because you never know where your blessings are going to come from. And
That's
it
right.
was one of those things where lately I've been needing a little bit like extra reassurance, and it just made me feel good. I was like,
Aww.
I still got it,
Yeah,
Yes, you do. You're gorgeous.
I still got it. And it's just be open. So
I love that.
yeah.
So I'm going to do a WTF moment.
Dun, 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 dun.
So me and Parker, we went to Palm Springs because I was feeling a little mom guilt, just working a lot and dropping Parker off a lot. So I feel like we needed, it's real. I feel like we needed some us time and just bonding time and just be together for a moment. So we get to Palm Springs. We just got there. Then we went out to go get some food. Literally within those minutes of driving in the car and going to get food, I hear Parker crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? It's just, I'm like, Parker, what's going on? I miss Nana. I want to go home to Nana. I must have looked. I said, Parker, I'm your mom.
Yes.
I'm your mom. Why are you crying? Nana's fine. I'm like, boy, it made me so sad. I'm like, I'm over here trying so hard to have our moment. Over here crying about Nana. So, yeah, that was my WTF moment. I was so hurt. I was like, boy, you're crying about Nana. And then we went to get food. He was still sad. I miss Nana. Can we call Nana? I said, no, we can't call Nana. I'm not calling Nana. We'll call her tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, you guys, that was my WTF.
That's actually really funny.
It was funny.
Cheyenne and Ryder go through that all the time. Like, Cheyenne will be like, especially when she comes back from Corey's house, when she goes to her dad's house, and Cheyenne's like, oh, Ryder's home. Like, I'm so excited. And she's like, where's Grandma at?
They've just been killing you. And Parker was so serious.
Yes.
He was sobbing. I was like,
Ryder.
But we're in Palm Springs. And so I gave the benefit of the doubt. I was like, you're tired. It's okay. It's been a long day. We drove 2 hours.
Yeah.
We went through checked into 3 different rooms because all the rooms were, I didn't like any of the rooms. It sounds so, each room was
standards.
Just,
you better,
each room was just, so we settled in. It was really late and we got food late. So I was like, it's okay. You're just tired. It's okay. Okay that you miss Nana. It's okay. I'm just your mom.
I think it's cute. I love the relationships.
I love it too.
It's good stuff.
Very special.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this amazing podcast with my dad. You guys can tune in on all podcast platforms. This is Think Loud Crew.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and subscribe.
Yes.
Or find us on Instagram at Think Loud Crew.
Yes, you guys.
Thank you, Leonardo.
Thank you, Dad.
AKA Lenny, Mr. Cablayan, for joining us today. I learned a lot. I'm excited. I want to have you back on just so we can like dive in a little bit more. And
anytime.
We'll have to come visit the radio department at the
Open
Brotherhood.
Invitation. Anytime you want to come by Brotherhood Crusade,
yes,
come on by.
We'll come on by.
Yeah.
Literally up the street.
Yeah, perfect. I'm there. Thank you all. Again, my name is R. Kylin, and you can find me on Instagram at R. Kylin.
And this is Shannon, and you can find me at Hair by Shannon C.
And how can we find you? If we want to talk to you more, get involved with Brotherhood Crusade.
Oh, my God. So you can find me at Brotherhood Crusade. And let's see, that's www.brotherhoodcrusade.org.
There you go, you guys.
That was a great radio voice right there. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Catch you next week. Ciao.